Hi everyone, thank you for coming back to my channel. It's DLX Dots here, and this is my weekly videos. So we sometimes think about, what is the right decision to make when, career is something that I love talking about, and my career so far has been quite good in terms of my mix of working for a big company and a small company. And what would I say is better? I think it depends. Would I advise someone to maybe join a small company or join a large company? I think it's pretty much down to you. What do you think you'll feel comfortable with? What are you trying to achieve in life? And I guess the question for you then would be, do you think that potentially it makes sense for you to join a smaller company because smaller companies can achieve a lot more, a lot quicker, and large companies can achieve a lot as well, but it's a longer process. The projects are usually a lot bigger, so it depends if you're driven by results, and it also depends on if you are wanting to be the sum of the whole rather than actually taking full responsibility for a big project, or rather a small project, depending on how you want to see it. So a small company might find that a big project, and a big company might find that a small project. People ask me, what company would I prefer to work for in terms of size? It's quite a difficult one. In terms of large companies, I can say that it's quite an easy. I think it's definitely worth everyone experiencing a large company. And if you're lucky and you start with a small company that has grown and it becomes a large company, then you don't have to do much else. It's great. You've experienced everything really, because then you've experienced a small company, a medium-sized company, and a large organization. But then if you are interested in sort of becoming a CEO or someone quite respected or an influencer within an organization, then you may want to sort of experience a massive breadth of experiences. So you might want to start, obviously as a graduate within a large company, or you can start as an engineer within a small company, and then you can sort of carry on that story. And it depends on where you want to sort of maybe see if within the small company you've got progression. So within small companies, it can be quite difficult to see what your progression is. And in all honesty, I know small companies that actually have a lot of progression, and they are willing to give you as much freedom as you are willing to take on. So it just depends on what's available, and depends on the company as well. Obviously within a small company, you want to be able to describe the things that you are doing within the small company because you take more responsibility. It's a good thing, it's not a bad thing at all. But you need to be able to articulate quite nicely what it is that you've been doing within the small company and how that could fit in a large organization. And that's why I always say, if you've worked for a large organization, it's great working in a small company, and if you've worked for a small company, it's also great working for an organization, because it's sort of, you need everything. And like I say again, if you're working for a small company that becomes huge, great, then you've seen everything within the spectrum. So another thing I want to say is, I don't think there's actually a right place to start. I know someone who actually started off in a small company and they ended up joining a large, massive organization. And then myself, I joined a massive organization to start with, and then I've come into a startup company in Oxford. So it just depends on what sort of stuff that you want to do. Obviously, a lot of people would say maybe working for a small company is a lot of risk. And yes, there's risk, but then obviously there's high rewards as well, depending on how well the company does. And obviously you can play a big part in that success, which is interesting. It depends if your ego wants you to sort of feel like you are part of that sort of success of a massive organization. Another thing I want to say is, listen, everyone's journey is different. You may be starting off working for a company that's only got 2 people. Your journey is definitely going to be very different to someone who is working in a large organization, but it doesn't mean that your journey is any better or any worse. because it's all about, you know, the process. It's all about you enjoying yourself and actually not worrying too much. If you get yourself to a position where you are financially stable, and you know what, I'm not trying to say financially stable in the sense of you have thousands and thousands of pounds in a bank account. What I'm trying to say is, when you can feel financially stable within your job, maybe if you have a mortgage, and then you've sort of saved 3 months of salary worth, sometimes 6 months if you're trying to push the boat out, or if you're doing a niche career that doesn't have a lot of jobs going on, and I would advise 6 months. But if you have sort of a 3-month savings, and most people will do, but if you're thinking about it in this way, it might actually direct you on how you can be very confident within your jobs. So if you have 3 months salary saved up, then what that means for you is you're able to sort of think ahead. You're able to think, am I able to take a risk here? Do I want to take risk? Especially with COVID times, a lot of people have had to reevaluate their career choices, and they've had to pivot to other industries. And you know, within most new jobs, you get a 6-month period where you can prove yourself, and it's quite difficult to sort of do that sometimes. But 6 months is a good time for you to tell yourself, is this the job I want to do? So some of you might know that in the job I was doing in the organization I was working for, before 2 jobs before this one, and if you know me, you probably know the job I'm talking about. You know, I was put into a job that just wasn't fitting for my personality. It was very engineering based. It was very sort of on your computer simulation, and I didn't like it. I really hated it. And what I gave myself was, I said, right, I'll give it 6 months, see how it goes. And sometimes you may be lucky that 6 months is actually enough time for you to have created relationships within your organization to say, okay, maybe I can actually move to another job. I can see what's going on here, because HR people actually have policies, right, for a reason. And they might have a policy where they say, okay, we can only allow you to stay within a certain job for 2 years or a certain role. And what that could mean is, you know, we want you to stay in a certain role for 2 years. But then you could also kind of understand that maybe you could actually have a conversation to say, I'm not really happy with this role. And potentially they could help you sort this out. If you're not a new person, then they've seen your progress within your previous jobs, then you've got more chances of being able to sort of move to another job at an early stage. So that's definitely something that I would consider in terms of when you're taking on a new job. Try to remember that you're not just taking risk in terms of the company taking risk, you're also taking risk in terms of you are taking risk as an individual. They are basically paying you to do a good job, but you also need to remember that probation period is to protect them as well, and it's to protect you. So it gives you enough time to say, right, okay, can I cope with this job? And there's a difference between imposter syndrome and not being able to do your job. So if you can't do your job, you need to basically find out what is going on, what's wrong, why can't I do my job, and how can I sort that out. So I've gone off on a tangent a little bit, so I'm going to bring it back. And the reason why I'm going to bring it back is because I'm going to sort of continue talking about the whole difference between a small company and a big company. And the reason why is because I've experienced both sides, and there's a pros and cons for both sides. I'm really enjoying my job currently, and I just want people to understand that just because you're in a terrible job right now does not mean that you have to kind of stay in that job. Make sure that you're prepared to go into a new job, and the way you can prepare for that is making sure you've got emergency savings if you lose your job or if you want to change jobs, because obviously you need time to be able to get a new one. And these are sort of obvious things, but they're just things that I feel people don't have a booklet for, and you don't have a list of, this is what I should do, this is what I should do. But I want to help you to understand that, listen, once you're kind of protected from a monetary aspect, why do you work? Think about it. Why are you working? You're working to basically feed yourselves, to feed your families, to put a roof over your head. So it's mainly about money. Obviously, there's the satisfaction of doing a good job and actually making a difference in the world, but it's mainly about money. And obviously, companies have to think, why are they actually surviving? and they are surviving for a reason, because they want to put their footprint in the world, they want to do something right. Also, they want to earn money, and that is the biggest thing. So just make sure that you've got yourself covered, you've got everything that you need in terms of money, and once you've saved enough money to allow you to be able to be flexible, then you can make the right decisions, because 6 months is enough time for you to make that decision. And even if it's 3 months, yeah, 3 months is not a lot of time in terms of probation, but you can still stay an extra 3 months as well to make sure that you've grasped, that you understand what the role is, and if you like the role, stay. If you don't like the role, leave. And I think, you know, I want to leave it there with this video, because I think you can tell what what I'm trying to say to you guys. Everyone's got their own journey. Because you started a small company does not mean you're a loser or you're shit. In a big company, it's not all rosy. Some people hate it in big companies, so it doesn't mean that you're a winner either. And it also doesn't mean that you've got any more security working for a big company. A lot of people think that, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, because if you don't pull your weight in a big company, you will lose your job. It's that simple. So obviously it might take a lot longer to lose your job in a big company, but people will find out. There's a reason why you've got managers, and that's it. Lastly, just make sure you've got your emergency savings. You know, don't sort of get your mortgage or any of your payments that you have to pay every month. Don't finish your salary before the end of the month, because what that means is you're earning under what you're spending, and at that point you have no leverage to basically argue about a pay rise, no leverage to argue about a new job, no leverage to leave your current company, because you're stuck. And you don't want to be stuck, guys. You know, don't be stuck. Alright, so thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you've enjoyed the content, please click on the like button. I'm really loving my subscribers, guys. Loving my subscribers. Listen, 85 subscribers now, and it's insane. Loving it. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and lots of love.